Ahoy everyone, this is Fortnon from Superuser projectile. Today we are going to be answering the question, can the Raspberry Pi be used as a desktop computer? Let's get right to it. So this is the Raspberry Pi, a cheap single-board computer. It's the most popular single-board computer, and it's got quite a bit of power nowadays. And some people are using these as their desktop computer, and I'm just going to show you basically the possibilities of what can you use these for general computing. The Raspberry Pi is, meant for projects and stuff like that, but it's got quite a bit of power now, like I said, so it can do quite a bit. So let's see what this thing can do. Here are the specs of this computer. So it's lower specs than a lot of computers, but I think it's running Linux and stuff like that, and it performs surprisingly well. And so I want to just go to the operating system and test some things out on it. So this is the official operating system for the Raspberry Pi, Raspberry Pi OS. Let's check out this operating system and see what it can do, and also see the performance of it. It's a Debian-based operating system, and it has the LXDE desktop environment, which is a lightweight desktop environment, and it runs very good on this single-board computer. So it's a pretty stripped-down version, but it's good enough, and it comes with some pre-installed apps, and you can also get the full version, which comes with lots of stuff, and you can just install stuff in a normal way. So there's like Office software, stuff like that. Like Microsoft Office doesn't run on these, it's very hard anyway to get it running. You can actually install Windows on these, but there is free Office software in Linux. So if we head over to the web browser, this is Chromium, and it's basically Chrome. And so what we have here, we can do some testing. So if we go to my channel right here, we can see how fast it loads up. So it's not super fast, but it's definitely manageable. And there is some other stuff we can test out right here. And I've done some, benchmarks and stuff on this. And it's, not as good as some computers, but it's not bad performance compared to some of the cheaper ones, but it is super cheap. So this is the aquarium benchmark. So we can change these. And whatever you put it on, it's not going to be very good. It doesn't seem like it does very good in this benchmark, but for general web browsing, it's pretty good for the most part. See, that loaded up pretty quick there. I'm not overclocked here, although you can overclock this computer. So you can install stuff in the terminal. You can do lots of stuff in the terminal, just like on a regular Linux computer. There's also some programming software right here, and this is, directed towards people who want to do that kind of thing, but it can also be used for general purpose stuff. So I think the performance for the price is really good. And of course you do have to get some accessories and stuff to get it all up and running, but still it's pretty good. So let me mention something right here. If you're watching this video around the time of the release, there is a Raspberry Pi shortage, and it is very difficult to get Raspberry Pi computers right now. And so if you see them, they may be at very high prices, but a lot of places are sold out. However, there is the new Raspberry Pi 02 wireless, and if you want to get that, that's not the same experience as a full Raspberry Pi, but if you want to get one of those, get it before it sells out. But these Raspberry Pis are just very hard to find right now. Luckily, I got this one a while back, so I haven't had to deal with that. But that is just one thing to note, but it's still a good computer. Now, there are tons of Linux distributions that you can run on the Raspberry Pi. You can run Ubuntu. There's many versions that are made just for the Raspberry Pi. There's Chromium OS, which is basically like Chrome OS, which runs on Chromebooks. There is Android. I got Android running on the Raspberry Pi. I've got lots of videos on the Raspberry Pi, and if you are interested in them, if you haven't seen them yet, make sure to check out my channel and see all those videos. But the Raspberry Pi, I think, is mainly, a good computer for people who want to mess around with some different operating systems and stuff, but it can definitely be used as a daily computer. In fact, I used to do that. For the most part, I had other computers too. I had, Windows computers and stuff, but I used to use the Raspberry Pi as my main computer, and it was pretty good. I didn't do a whole lot of my video editing on it, but for general stuff, it did surprisingly well. So this is also a remake of my very first video I did on this channel, and it was basically about the same thing, but this one, of course, is much better quality and stuff like that. So you can put all kinds of micro SD cards or SSDs in the Raspberry Pi. If you want to use an SSD, you want to use a USB adapter, plug it into the USB port, and you can USB boot these. And so it's very easy to do. And if you want to install an operating system, there is a program called Raspberry Pi Imager that helps you do that. So overall, I think that the Raspberry Pi as a desktop computer is perfectly doable as long as you don't need Windows software. And if you do, you could always install Windows, but not everything is working yet. For example, the Wi-Fi. So there are some limitations, but you can do that as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a like if you liked it. And if you're new to this channel, make sure to subscribe and check out all my other content. Until next time, I'm Fortnon Kiwi from Superuser, Project Dial.